This is a difficult problem. It's a hard problem to solve. We know that centralized certificate management really isn't the answer because you only got a handful of specialists who really understand the ins and outs of PKI and how it works. It creates a single point of failure, obviously. You can't control the systems. While you can set policies that define how certificates are deployed and used, you don't control the systems actually where they're installed, where they're actually provisioned to. That creates a gap. So you have a system with few experts, limited ownership information, lack of system control, and then that leads to outages today. So that all leads to the question of how are we going to stop them? How do we get in front of them? And how do we, frankly, how are we able to do something so gutsy as to say, hey, Venafi, via Venafi, can offer a guarantee that we can prevent your outages. I have mentioned before this outage safety net. So it's an organizational warning. Like, it's not just to a certificate owner. It's we're going to get warnings and a backup system to help prevent outages and get information where owners are unavailable, or we can keep track of the frequency of these. We have a outage safety net guide effectively that will walk our customers through the process of what does that actually mean? How does it affect people, process, and technology to create this safety net that allows us to get information out of the product itself, even in a slimmed down version of an implementation, and get communication out to the right stakeholders in the organization. So we don't just list out, hey, this is the step that you need to take, but we also give you tools along the way to help actually take those steps. The second step is establish the foundation of the solution. So basically implement the Venafi solution. This is the only one that's really particularly related directly to the technology. Get the software, Venafi's enterprise class software installed, database set up and configured, do what we call targeted onboard discovery. So going to, say, systems and servers that we know are hosting applications and sites and services and start doing discovery of where their certificates are. Do CA imports, right? A way that we can log in to your certificate authorities and get their version of records of what your certificate provisioning looks like, and then do network discoveries as well. Align the organization around a service-based approach to how they're going to solve the problem. So in a word, this mostly comes down to policies and having a policy that the organization understands and signs off on and buys into. And this has historically been one of the hardest parts for an organization, is to adopt that enterprise-wide policy that defines who's responsible. How does the workflow actually get implemented to make sure that our certificates are constantly updated? When we provision, or actually when we requisition or get initial certificates, how are we sure that they're properly configured? Are they configured for the right length of service, the right time to live? Are they configured with the appropriate encryption that's approved or recommended by, say, our InfoSec team through a policy? This is all about creating a policy, and then that the organization can say, we're going to look at a service that does this. And one of the biggest challenges that our customers have is, well, we don't have this policy. This is not a thing. It's not a thing in our organization. Define and design the service, right? So what is the service description actually going to look like? What are the service level agreements going to look like? This is a really important piece. Train the team that's going to run the service, right? So you're again, that PKI team, which is always understaffed. They seem to have too few people. How do we train them to run the service in a constant way and then document the process so that we can bring in new team members and get them up to speed rapidly? Venafi has a lot of educational programs and experience around this. Suffice to say that just through our history and through all of the customers that we've helped, we have a lot of online tools and resources, actually training classes that are available, obviously, for a lot of technologies, but also just things that are available online in terms of webinars that are accessible, in terms of best practice information that you can get to, what we call our proven path solution set. Sixth step, you recruit, train, and onboard your early adoption teams. So when we say early adoption teams, what are we thinking of there? What are we actually kind of focusing on there? We're focusing on the teams that are using most of the certificates in mission critical environments. So this could be your F5 team, could be your application teams. Really a way to get sort of early wins with a small team that you can manage their adoption of the certificate lifecycle process, the certificate as a service process. You expand that to an enterprise-wide methodology. You then go to all of the teams. achieving an end like perpetually preventing certificate-related outages in your organization. How do you solve such a big problem? And when you say you're done, if there is an unexpected outage, we can help you discover root cause. We can help you go and say, okay, what did we miss? Where was this certificate in that we didn't discover? We actually have 7 different discovery methods, but which of these methods did we not appropriately use to make sure that we could discover all of the certificates in case there is an outage?